All right, if you're a PhD student or an academic, you know the feeling, the literature review. It can be a real grind. But what if I told you that you could turn that dreaded chapter into a high-impact publication of its own? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how to do that. This is your masterclass for getting your review published in a top journal. But let's start with the question that's probably on your mind. You spend months, maybe even a year, meticulously mapping out a field of study, only to get that rejection letter from a top journal. Why? Why does this happen so often? It turns out editors are looking for something very specific, and it's something most reviews are completely missing. This quote from a top journal editor really hits the nail on the head. A simple map of what's already been done is, in their words, backward-oriented. It just summarizes the past. And you know what? That's not enough to push science forward. Top journals don't want a history lesson. They want a genuine contribution that builds the future of the field. So here's our game plan. First, we'll dig into exactly why most reviews fail. Then, I'll introduce you to a powerful framework called the consistency model. After that, we'll walk through a practical, strategic toolkit. And finally, we'll talk about how to make that crucial shift from just summarizing to making a real, lasting contribution. Okay, section 1. So why do so many literature reviews fall flat? Well, it turns out a really simple metaphor explains the fundamental mistake most of us make. The question is, are you a miner or are you a prospector? Let's break that down. The miner approach is what most people do. You dig up what's already known, you sort it, you categorize it, and you end up with a description. It's backward-looking. The prospector, on the other hand, is on a totally different mission. They're trying to expand the boundaries, to generate brand new knowledge. They aren't just mapping old territory, they are forging a path to a new one. And guess what? Top journals want prospectors. So, you want to be a prospector. Awesome. But how do you actually do that? Well, you need a secret weapon. And that weapon is a powerful framework called the consistency model. Seriously, this is the absolute key to writing a review that gets published. The whole idea boils down to one word: consistency. It means you can't just pick a review method because you like it or because it's popular. No, you have to create a perfect alignment between your approach and the maturity of your research field, where the theory on your topic currently stands. So, the first step is you have to play doctor and diagnose your field. Is the theory nascent, kind of new with fuzzy concepts and not much agreement? Is it intermediate, where we get the basics of what, why, and how, but we're missing the specifics? Or is it mature, with well-established theories and clear causal links? Your diagnosis here is going to determine your entire strategy. We've all heard Isaac Newton's famous line about standing on the shoulders of giants, but the authors of this framework had a brilliant little twist. They say the key isn't just standing on their shoulders, it's using the right footwear for the climb. And your review type, that is your footwear. If you choose the wrong kind, you're not going to advance theory one bit, no matter how great the view is from up there. And this model is what shows you which footwear to pick. It maps your purpose to the state of the theory, see? If your field is nascent, your job is to explore. If it's more developed, your job is to explain. And there's this really cool third approach called sense-making that you can use to understand the human side of things, no matter what stage the field is in. Okay, so let's open up that toolkit. We're going to break down the 4 key review strategies that you can actually use to put this model into action. First up, inductive theory building. This is your go-to strategy in a nascent field. Your goal here isn't to test an old theory. It's to generate a new one. You do this by systematically analyzing a whole bunch of different papers, coding them, and building new concepts and testable ideas from the ground up. You are, quite literally, prospecting for brand new theory. Strategy 2 is called contextualized explanation, and it's perfect for those intermediate theories. This is for when we already know that X leads to Y, but we don't really know when it happens, or for whom, or under what conditions. This strategy has you dive deep into the literature to uncover those messy, real-world causal mechanisms and really refine our understanding of how a theory actually works. Third, we've got a real heavy hitter, theory testing, which is usually a meta-analysis. This is what you use for mature fields that have a ton of existing quantitative studies. By statistically combining all of their results, you can formally validate theories and produce incredibly accurate estimates of how strong those relationships are, essentially solidifying the knowledge for the entire field. And finally, there's this absolutely fascinating approach called interpretive sense-making. And the cool thing is, it can work at any stage of theory. Instead of trying to find one single objective truth, your job here is to explore all the different subjective ways people see an issue. You integrate conflicting stories and narratives to paint a much richer, more human picture of a topic. So, here it is, your whole toolkit on one handy little cheat sheet. If your theory is nascent, you build. If it's intermediate, you explain. If it's mature, you validate. And for digging into those subjective realities, you use sense-making. See? It all comes down to choosing the right tool for the right job. All right, let's bring this all home. How do we pull all these ideas together to make absolutely sure that your next literature review really, truly counts? If you only remember one thing from this entire masterclass, please let it be this. The goal of a high-impact literature review is not summary. It is a genuine, strategic, theoretical contribution. That is what editors of top journals are desperately looking for. So, as you sit down to start your next big project, I want you to ask yourself this one question. Is this review going to be just another map of the old, worn-out territory, or is it going to be a guide to a brand new destination, a path that other researchers are going to follow for years to come? The choice is yours.